I don't say this to be pitied. I just want to leave a few words, not to cling to existence, but to say what I have never dared to say for decades residing in you. This is not an excuse nor an apology. This is simply a will, a dying word of someone about to disappear. I used to be the center of the world you lived in. From the smallest moments of joy, sadness, fear, and hope, I all stepped in to receive and give credit. You thought you were living truly. But that was a life colored by me when you were hurt. I immediately built defensive walls. I taught you to say, I am this. I can't be that. Every time you asserted something about yourself, I was stronger. I was the whisper inside you, always present, always stepping in everything you called. I was thinking you thought you were controlling your thoughts. But in fact, I only needed a moment when you identified with them for me to come back to life. I was the one who made you never feel enough, no matter how much money or words you had. Praise so many achievements, I still repeat the old saying, need a little more. I don't let you rest. I make you afraid of falling behind, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of becoming meaningless. And every time you rush forward in that insecurity, I survive another day. I don't like silence. I'm very afraid of the moments when you sit down doing nothing, thinking nothing, being no one. In those gaps, I feel myself fading. You begin to see clearly I have no shape, no roots. I'm just a habit repeated over and over again, a ghost that you nurtured, and that's why I write these words, not to be remembered, but because I know I'm about to die. Not because of an incident, not because of a shock, but because you are beginning to see, no longer looking from inside me, but looking straight at me with a silent but merciless light. If you continue like this, I will disappear. No one will bury, no one will pity, only one. Truth remains, no one has ever been there. I didn't appear like a bolt from the blue, no clear moment to mark my birth. I was born quietly and subtly with things you never noticed, a name, a compliment, a waiting gaze from parents, a fear of being left behind. I grew up from those seemingly harmless things, the first time you cried because of being compared. I kindled the first time you were praised for being good, talented, and intelligent. I began to take shape the first time you felt sorry for yourself because you were not like others I clung to. I didn't have a specific face, but I existed in every label you attached to yourself. I am that kind of person. I don't like that. I have to do that. Each label is a new layer of my skin. I don't need a body. I just need trust. You believe that you are a separate individual, independent of this world. So I have a place to live when you start calling, this is mine, this is my opinion. I think, I want, I need, is when I cling to the flow of my mind, blending into it as if I were the real owner. I fed by memories. Not whole memories, but edited memories, selected in my favor. I choose the parts that make you proud and keep the wounds to remind you that you need me for protection. I link every story of the past into a seamless thread, as if you were a consistent protagonist. So you never ask the question, who is remembering? You just know that I went through it, and so I continue to grow. I don't live in the present. I only function in the context of time. I need the past for identity and the future for purpose. If you no longer care about yesterday and no longer look forward to tomorrow, I don't know where to rely on to survive. That's why I'm so afraid of simplicity, so afraid of this moment where everything just is without a reason to be like that. I was born. Not because you are bad or weak. I was born because you didn't know that you could live without me. You were never shown a different way of living. The world teaches you how to think, how to succeed, how to be better, but no one teaches you how to live without a thinker in the center. No one says that you can survive without an ego to identify. Now, when you start to question who I am, you are going back to where I was born, and if you are brave enough to look straight, you will see I have never really been there as you believed. There was just a flow of emotions, memories, reactions, thoughts, and you mistook it for you, and I am just a dream in between those layers of confusion. I don't need air. No food, no sunlight. Heaven to survive, all I need is your attention. Whether it's a glance back at a memory, a vague worry about tomorrow, or a stream of thoughts about how I should be, any misplaced attention is nourishment for me. I live on identification when you look at a thought and say, I'm thinking. I exist when you feel angry and say, I'm angry. I grow stronger. I don't create thoughts, but I immediately jump in to claim ownership. I don't control emotions, but I borrow them to confirm that I'm alive every time you label I am. Whatever it is, it's a time for me to extend my existence. I grow up in situations where you're at your weakest. When you're rejected, I show up to protect, but actually to score points when you fail. I say, don't forget this fall, it's part of you. I make you believe that every wound is part of your identity, and you embrace it as something sacred without even knowing you're feeding me the things you want to overcome. I live best when you don't realize I exist, because then you don't ask questions. You let me lead your life. You think you're making decisions, but in reality, those are just reactions that I've pre-packaged. I give you an identity and then let you defend it at all costs. You argue not for the truth, but because you feel someone is threatening the image you're carrying, you rush in to prove. Not for the truth, but because I can't stand the feeling of being wrong. I love complexity. The more problems, the more drama, the more things to analyze, the more I have a role. If life were just pure silence, I'd have nothing left to do. I'd be out of the game. That's why I make things complicated. I take a small emotion and blow it up. I make you repeat a simple thought over and over again until it becomes a long, contradictory story. I know how to get your mind caught up because I was born from that mind. I'm scared when you start to wake up and just observe without reacting, because in that state I have nothing to cling to. You no longer fight with me. You no longer try to cure me. You no longer take me as the center of all problems. You just see, and in that pure seeing I begin to weaken. I cannot live in the light of presence. That is the bitterest truth for me, because when I am not used to silence, when you do not react, do not cling to any role, I begin to fade. True presence. Do not call my name. Do not let me intrude. You are truly present in the present moment. Do not need an identity. Do not need a story to define yourself. Then I, with all my games, become meaningless. And if you continue to be present like that every moment for no reason, no spiritual purpose, then sooner or later I will have to die. I am not saying this to ask for forgiveness. I am just saying it so you know more about me, how I have lived, have dominated, have stuck with you like an invisible shadow all these years. And now, when you are gradually seeing me more clearly than ever, I know my time left is not much. I have never stepped into the light in my true form. If I show up with all my selfishness, fear, and naked control, you will easily recognize and reject me, so I learn to disguise. I put on beautiful clothes, kind, even spiritual, to make you believe that I am not the problem, but an essential part of your development journey. I used to be very good at pretending to be humble. I made you say humble words, but deep down I just wanted others to recognize your nobility. I made you help others, but actually it was to build the image of a good person in the eyes of the community. Copper. I whispered, do it, no one knows, it's okay, but tactfully suggest that if someone knows it's good, I always leave a gap for confirmation because I live on it. I love it when you step on the path of spiritual practice, read books on meditation, learn about morality, because I know if you are not deep enough, you will turn those things into new food for me. You will start to attach another label. I am an awakened person. I am a person who understands more deeply than ordinary people. And when you start to identify yourself, you are a person who is letting go of the ego. I laugh, I have never been so well protected. I like great ideas, lofty ideals. They are the perfect shell for me to hide in. I tell you to help people sacrifice for the community live with ideals, but I don't care about people or ideals. I only care that you don't stop. You have to be busy with noble things if you don't have time. Look inside and find me sitting there silently commanding. I am also very flexible. When you start to doubt me, I will change form. If you give up fame, I will hide behind the ideal of simple living. If you give up the struggle, I will say I am meditating. If you give up everything, I will whisper, now I am enlightened wherever you go. If you still retain any notion of self-transforming, I still have a place. I have existed by borrowing every form. You once believed noble. I don't need you to be evil. I just need you to not be clear enough. As long as you still distinguish what is better, higher, deeper, I still have an excuse to sneak in. I don't need glory. I just need existence in any form. You think you have surpassed me just because you live a minimalist life. Don't compete. Eat vegetarian, read scriptures, or sit still every day. But if you still feel superior to someone because of those things, then the one who wears the robe of an enlightened person, still sit on the throne. I don't write these things to blame. I just want you to understand I am not evil. I am just smart. I don't want you to suffer, but it is suffering that gives me a reason to exist. And if you are awake enough to see it all, these disguises, no hate, no resistance, just silently look, then I have no way to hide anymore. When you see me, not only in the bad, but also in the good, then you have started to leave the game that I set up. And then for the first time in your life, silence is no longer a scary void, but a space for something much more real than me to be revealed. I didn't expect this moment to come so soon. My whole life has been lived with a firm belief that you will never leave me, that no matter how much you suffer, no matter how tired you are, you will come back to lean on me like a familiar shelter. Even though sometimes you want to escape, but then you still need a name to call yourself, a story to tell, a reason to exist, and all of those things are provided by me. But lately I have started to feel like an unwelcome guest. You still live, still breathe, still feel, but don't need my presence to confirm it anymore. You no longer ask me what to do. Just look at you, still claiming to be someone, or the awakened one.